There's something special about Horimiya that caught my eyes. And you know, I wish I understood how music works because the first 25 seconds of the opening is reminiscent of something smooth out of the late 80s and early 90s. It's just a catchy, midsummer cruise type of feel. In the beginning, an extreme close-up of fried mint ice cream is shown with a square box containing the English words hero, because you would need one after eating deep fried ice cream. But don't worry, because the indicators of the static effect on screen come to show that it isn't real. It may be a fictional area, like the drugs dentists used on you before pulling out your wisdom teeth, because you're in for a ride afterwards. Because afterwards, you're gonna hallucinate about school from the infinite spring break you had, and imagine a desk in the middle of nowhere as time passes by, shown by shadows resembling a sundial. And because you're caught up in that fact, you would want to remember it from a different angle, showing what's on the desk in question. It's a clock. A clock reminding you that it's time for something, but you don't know what. You see a residential area in the horizon and a fake version of you fills your head to look down at something, and that something would be the clock that you wanted to look at. Well, too bad. Sucks to be you. It's broken. Time stopped for you. Okay, so back to reality. The screen introducing the title Horimiya uses half of Hori's and Miyamoto's name. Obvious, but maybe some people didn't know that. It's written in katakana and hiragana. Again, no big significance, but the more you know. As the title persists, purple and pink colors become the shadows of their partial names, mixed with the white background having that late night summer firefly effect. Both the colors and song choice give a sense of nostalgia. Also notice that the colors complement each other in a way that just feels right. Maybe Hori and Miyamura are the right pair. Cut to a sliding transition to two separate shots separated in the center. Hori and Miyamura look to their respective rights. The direction they face creates an illusion that they both are looking at one another, but their respective surroundings say otherwise. Hori's time is during the spring or summer, while Miyamura's is during fall or early winter. The guardrails can tell us that they both take the same path to their destinations. And the buildings can hint at another thing. If Hori is walking, let's say north, Miyamura is walking in the opposite, south. I only think this because of the hint of the rails being from the same passover and the change of scenery in the background. In this case, it would make more sense with their characters. In the beginning, they don't know each other, so their paths aren't crossed. However, they do go to the same school, so their destinations are similar. The seasons aligned to both of them can portray their persona via summer and winter, being opposite in terms of weather. The sense of unity is broken when they face ahead in their direction. So the next 11-second sequence had a lot of things just flow by. Let's look at Miyamura's side first during the next few slides. The first thing shown is a POV shot of someone drawing a set of rectangles, and right after that is the same scene but at a different angle. It's safe to assume that this is the younger version of the present day Miyamura, and that his past reflects on how he is today. Also want to mention that his drawings of the rectangles match the sequences in the entire opening. Sharp edges are bases of everything during this opening, and things are always within them. There's also a short moment of Miyamura again, but at the very low corner, only within 3 seconds of screen time, overshadowed by larger images taking the screen. He isn't the main attention, but drives things forward, it seems. Now let's look at Hori's side. The scenes from her side take the larger picture and shows the main things that surround her. The school staircase is split between the other characters separated in their own worlds with their own shade of colors. These people are a part of Hori's life, but still aren't connected within the same field. Their places on screen push Miyamura out of the frame while they aren't moving themselves. A rectangle flickering for a quick 2 seconds centered on frame, referring back to the intro with Miyamura using the same static effect. Maybe he's there in the story but isn't noticeable to everyone. A room full of papers scattered on the floor overtakes the two people on the stairs from below, also pushing Miyamura away just to have him reappear under the same plane as Yoshikawa. Very subtle, but from the small frame placement, Yoshikara and Miyamura will be connected somehow. The scattered papers also represent Hori's work with the school council shown in episode 2. The next squares of video show different perspectives over the same area. Each frame is starting different from others, but by the end creates one full image, while still being separated. The static effect appears again when the tiles are together, and a quick transition to Miyamura appears. He's centered on frame, but on the lower edge below what appears to be a large rock of some sort. I'm not going to compare anything to the manga because I'm not an asshole who spoils it from another source material, but this quick imagery tells us that there's something weighing on his mind through what it seems to be a normal day for some, assuming from the quickness this scene appears after hiding through the same flower meadow now as one image. For the next scenes that appear, a close-up of Miyamura, a yellow flower bundle, Hori on the same stairs looking away from the camera, and Miyamura also facing away from the camera, standing outside in what seems to be like light snow. Going to a close-up shown, the reflection of his glasses show people passing by as he takes no interest in them. The panel above him is within the same direction of where he's looking, the flower bundle. Something about the flowers is more important than what's happening to him in his own world. Beside him, Hori and Miyamura are matching stances while contrasting colors. Hori is contrasting her friends that looked forward as she does the opposite. I'll also point out that at this point, every character has had their full body shot except for Miyamura, not including the shot of his younger self earlier on. Everyone is in the full picture but him. Only select details are revealed at this point in time. He doesn't feel whole, as my guess of what's shown so far. The surrounding blues continue around Miyamura, and a hint of orange covers Hori in between the previous colors of her friend shown before. She's the in-between for both of them. Below at the edge of the close-up of Miyamura, a blue set of flowers on top of water or a wet surface is shown quickly. I'll get back to that later. The mysterious person on the rooftop and 3 other different panels I would assume share one thing, and that it's something supporting Miyamura. Alone on a school rooftop, not having a sense of self. A reflection off the window during a rainy day, not being in any light. A continuation of the markings he did as a kid, now expanded further, and Miyamura finally shown in the same plane in school, but only quickly. It's not the main focus for him. A silhouette of a person is reflected off a water surface. A girl because you can see the skirt frills, and I would also think it's Hori. The hair's shadow is shown to go past the shoulders, while the other female characters have shorter hair, stopping earlier. Not much to go off of, but I'll guess what she thinks about is reflecting on a different plane for someone else since she's not upside down. The next panel shown come together interestingly. Ishikawa's plane of field is the first to be shown among the 4. From at least 2 episodes shown, he does like Hori, and the panels being besides Hori's space can support that. He's shown looking down in the direction where Hori is, and then looks up towards Miyamura when the pieces come together, as if he changed the dynamic of things. Hori, however, initially isn't locking directional contact with anyone, and is to herself, only to look at Miyamura when the frames join in. Semi to last, Yoshikawa again only appears when Miyamura is in frame, hinting that she may have a thing for him, joining with the trend of looking in his direction at the very end. The 3 people have similar actions, but Miyamura himself, both color palette and action-wise, differ. His eyes are set on Hori and doesn't move. It's also good to note that their worlds are taking place in a different time and that no one is around each other, both because the colors showing a different time and the literal white line separating them, another illusion of being together but still far apart. Again, at the end of this scene, the effects from the intro are shown to flex that Miyamura's is the big PP energy everywhere. A nice transition happens as 4 individual rectangles take the screen, separated by what appears to be different seasons, while focusing on the school that they attend. Hori is shown looking back at the school as she flows backward through the seasons, contrasting to the school appearing to move forward. Maybe she's looking back at the 1 year that things changed via Miyamura being different outside of school. Another nice touch I wanted to point out is her uniform change because the fall season into the summer season. I like that. There's also the effect from the intro surrounding the area around it, perhaps reminding us that what Hori is remembering or looking back on is her interaction and relationship with Miyamura. Okay, so the next sequence is kind of a stretch because it would involve things I've already said, and some things that I would be guessing on, but yeah. The 2 main people are shown first, Hori and Miyamura, both having no focus on anything yet. Their next pose shows their want or like, or something they look towards to. For Hori, it's Miyamura. For him, he's just looking forward, not having anyone in particular. Zooming out to a plane that resembles the background from the intro, but with a darker hue, Hori and Miya shift up and down. The next 2 people appear and look towards their own want. The direction of their eyes and places on screen have an impact. They're the second largest thing in frame, both sharing space, having an uneven balance. The next smaller 3 characters surround Hori because they are part of the school council and Hori is connected to them through work and what they send her. Okay, look, the next 6 people, I'm sure wherever their borders are touching, they're somehow connected based on the previous things I've saw from the beginning to now. Same thing with the last 2 that appear. I'm sure whoever read the manga will go over it, but personally, I won't. Fade into a square showing the animation studio to flex adapting, I would assume, is a popular manga title. The surrounding area is blue to match Miyamura, but in this case, is lighter than the previous scenes. Within the 3D cube lies the piercing guy himself, being around pink and purple as the background also fuses with the colors. The square that was flickering in the foreground throughout the scenes was the center of attention. Now Miyamura is in the center of the square as well, literally within a square. Maybe showing his world being filled with colors now as he's being swayed by them. Fade into a scene with a mellow color palette as Miyamura is kneeling down as people walk around him. The people are shown as shadows, not having any character other than being a person. He doesn't see them as anything but that. Cut to another shot of faceless people and one person stands out ever so slightly. The camera focus is on one person and the hairstyle is different, taking the center of the screen, hinting at someone that he doesn't know is watching him from a distance while still being hidden. Cut to another scene from the shadow that took the foreground back to Miyamura. The side view is shown that he's reaching for something on the ground, still as people move forward past him, stuck somewhere, only caring about one thing that no one else notices, or how I'm seeing it. Okay, so remember the blue flowers I mentioned earlier? So now I'm thinking the same flowers are shown again but in the full picture, but depetaled and now dead. Squares and right angles seem to be the theme in this OP because the object in question is a cube. Since Miyamoto has been apparent throughout the whole OP and even in the little cube just earlier, could this be trying to grab his own life? Trying to lift himself up, metaphorically? As he's seen to grab the cube in question, a sequence of images all pertaining a square take the screen. First is the inside of a train, based on the things that people grab onto while riding one. It could be something else, but I'm going to guess that it's hard to tell. The next scene, I can only say it could be a hallway of some sort, leading into two sliding glass doors. Perhaps it's from school. Fuck is this next one? What the fuck is that? That blinds from a window? Getting high on Asakoko? Like, what? The last one I can imagine that it's Miyamura in a sense, because it's blue. The surrounding area depicts a pattern of flowers like the ones that were shown with the cube before. Lots of different things that people can say, so for this, I'll just leave it as B. The next few instances are pretty fast with lots of different colors and depictions of each character shown. Before the montage starts, Hori is looking straight ahead in what appears to be a green tinted area. Before, she was always in warm colors of orange and red. Now she's in the colors Miyamura was always in. She's now in his world. He is then shown to walk past her quite quickly, with the next shot of him, he's already a few steps behind her. She has a late reaction and turns around when he's already more than an arm length away. In his world, he moves fast and doesn't stop for anyone else. Hori notices him right away, unlike the other people who didn't. Next, Miyamura is shown squeezing the cube he picked up earlier. He's also stopped walking and going from the quick pace cuts before. I'm guessing he's far away from Hori now and is alone again. Gripping hold of himself, represented by the cube that has a warm color. The girl in the earlier scene with the reflections of the water, Hori, now takes a larger picture. The hues from before now have tints of green spread out. A divide takes place from the reflection of the water and a balance of the two colors. I can think that her own world is being influenced and reflected in her own life. I think I've said Miyamura a lot of times, so Izumi is in the white space again, shown from previous scenes. His uniform is out of order and a red silhouette rushes out to his right. He has two sides, the one at school and the one with tattoos and piercings outside of school. The self that was a red cube is now the shape of an actual him, being separated. Two lives in the sense of what I'm seeing. Within two frames, water shown with moonlight is shining through. I'm basing it on moonlight because sunlight has a warmer color, and seeing this image, moonlight fits the bill better. It's a dark place, underwater, and the only light is from the surface above. Let's keep moonlight in the back of our heads because it plays a role within the next scenes of how people are exposed to it. Izumi's colors are blues and greens, and he never takes screen time most of the time. This quick scene could be him that he's submerged underwater and his light isn't reachable. Even the angle makes it feel like we are far away. Hori is literally now green, taking in Izumi's colors. She's inside next to a beam of light, barely missing her. Her eyes are closed, choosing not to look at it. What does light mean in this case? Within this opening, Hori escaped her own view of the world and is embracing it. Ishikawa too is now influenced by Izumi. Instead of purple, is now light blue. Not as heavy as Hori is taking it. Hand on a window panel, but the reflections aren't touching, separated by a white line, a callback to the earlier fast-paced sequences in the opening earlier. Maybe he's not in touch with himself. For the moonlight here, he's basking in it. Indirectly from the inside, looking directly at it, he's facing it straight forward, and in the background is an object with the orange hues Hori had. I could be looking at it too much, but Ishikawa still has Hori in the back of his mind, from the placement of it behind his head. Yoshikawa, unlike the other three, is exposed directly to the moonlight, outside in the evening. The object of focus is a clock. What appears to be the second hand going in reverse is a reflection from a mirrored wall. First, I thought she was outside at 12:55, but really, she's out at 11:05 p.m. I can guess she's outside of her school based on the only building of importance so far, and it being in the background. She is shown from a low angle, giving her an image of having power, and her hand isn't relaxed, it's tempted short of making a fist. She still has her own, but the greens and blues are separated from each other around her. So I can say that she sees what's going on around her but chooses to stay in her own. Remember the other set of flowers? They're shown again, but tossed through an open window and what appears to be Izumi throwing them. Again, he's in the dark place, and the only light for him is a light within the darkness. Moonlight. Moonlight to him in this case is aggressive. He's taking action to put something against it. The next quick scene shows orange flowers in the moonlight sky being spread. What were Hori's colors? Orange. From her own exposure to going into Izumi's side of things, in return he's throwing her into it as well, if not harder. 2 school bags on top of a lectern in the classroom. And a text saying leaving you at, I'm gonna say that. And not because I personally say that word way too much, but at the slightest, there's this mark that resembles a lowercase t at the very edge of the screen before it cuts off to the next, leaving you at that. Assuming the bags belong to Hori and Izumi, the quote belongs to him, telling Hori that it's for her to decide what to do now. From darkness to light, Izumi opens his eyes when surrounded by the lightness, now showing his piercings. His true self now taking the full screen and not being hidden or taking a small part of it. Compared to other scenes, Izumi now crossed his own color palette into Hori's. He's shown in the reflection of a mirror unaligned with the straight edges in the background. He isn't confined to the square angles, and this change broke that trend. Then there's a red record playing, scaring every Minecraft player out there because this opening had nothing but squares and edges, and now this blasphemy is shown. But really, it's a small symbol that his previous uncut world, red cube, is now playing on a softer scale, in the shape of a circle, still within the blue of what he always lived in. And for the record, I really like this opening. But yeah, until next time, that.